Good afternoon, Jets Nation. Welcome to the Jets Show. And today we're going to be talking about the top performers this week at the Senior Bowl. So without further ado, let's get it started. So before we talk about the top performers, the New York Jets beat the American team 20-10. JT Woods had a game-clinching interception with like 19 seconds left. So the New York Jets came out victorious, and Ron Middleton is 2-0 as a head coach and is definitely going to end up as an NFL head coach one day. And I also want to note that the New York Jets coaches were the better coaches this week at the Senior Bowl. A lot of people, a lot of media who were there are saying that we just came out with more energy. We didn't take a day off of work. We never slacked off. So it's good to see that we brought that energy. We treated this game like it was a playoff game, treated this game like it had an effect on our record. So it's just glad to see that the New York Jets coaches did not take a single day off. Now let's talk about the top performers this week at the Senior Bowl, starting off with Christian Watson, wide receiver for North Dakota State. Watson is 6'5" and was one of the fastest players at the Senior Bowl this week. So not only can he make contested catches, he can also outrun defenses and burn cornerbacks. This tape definitely shows it, and he definitely did it this week at the Senior Bowl. And he also won the best receiver for the national team this week. He was a two-time All-American at the FCS level, and he isn't really getting much hype because he is a receiver from North Dakota State, an FCS level school, and they don't exactly face, NFL talented cornerbacks. Some of the top receivers in this year's draft class were going up against future first-round picks in like every single game of their career, while Christian Watson was going up against, borderline undrafted free agents. But the fact that he did win best receiver against these Power 5 cornerbacks, against these players who are probably going to be drafted, definitely has to say something about Watson. Then we have Trevor Pening, offensive tackle from Northern Iowa, who is 6'7", 340 pounds. He is an absolute monster, and he is very, very strong and bullied people this entire week, and he deserves all the hype that he's recently been getting. And the thing with Pening is that he did get beat sometimes this week, and he was getting pushed back by some players this week. But I don't think you should view that as a negative, because he is coming from Northern Iowa, another FCS level school, and the talent he faced every week of his career was not on par with the talent some of the top tackles in this year's class were facing every single game of their career. And the fact that he did win the best offensive lineman for the national team going up against these Power 5 edge rushers definitely has to say something about Pening as well. Then we have Travis Jones, defensive tackle from the University of Connecticut. He balled out this week. He was constantly applying pressure to the quarterback. He was winning all of his one-on-ones. He had a sack during the actual game. And this was pretty impressive to see, because one of the negative things coming into this game or coming into this week for Jones was that he wasn't consistent enough with his pass rush. He had decent sack numbers at UConn, had 4.5 sacks this previous season. Now, he was getting double teamed, triple teamed quite a bit, but still, pass rush was a little bit of an issue for him. The main thing he was best at was his run game, his run stopping. He's phenomenal at that. Proved it this week at the Senior Bowl as well. And if Foley Fatukasi leaves, why not replace him with another UConn guy? And he did win the best defensive lineman for the national team this week as well. Then we have Bryant, Asamoah, linebacker from Oklahoma. Asamoah is really fast, and he is really athletic. He knows how to make plays. He probably has one of the best range of all the linebackers in the Senior Bowl, and probably the best range out of any of the linebackers in this year's draft class as well. He's the sideline-to-sideline type of player. He just makes plays, and he showed that this week at the Senior Bowl. Was pretty quiet during the game, but throughout this week of practice, he balled out. And one of the major concerns for him was that he really couldn't make plays in the run game, but he was one of the most active players when it came to stopping the run this week for the national team in practice. So a lot of these players in the Senior Bowl are just proving all these scouts and analysts wrong about what their negatives are, and are just improving their draft stock while doing that. And Brian Asamoah also won the Best Linebacker Award as well. Then we have Kobe Bryant, the Jim Thorpe Award winner this past season. He was also an All-American. He had 10 interceptions and 35 pass deflections during his 4-year career at Cincinnati. Well, he actually was at Cincinnati for 5 years, but was a 4-year starter. And he just shut down wide receivers this entire week at the Senior Bowl. And you didn't hear his name a whole lot during the game, which is a good thing for a cornerback, meaning no one really threw it his way. I think he only allowed like 1 catch. So he had a really impressive week, and he won the best cornerback for the national team. Then we have Abraham Smith, running back from Baylor, and he is a really interesting story. So he barely got snaps during his first 2 seasons at Baylor, switched to linebacker in 2020, racked up a couple tackles, and then in 2021 had 1,601 yards in 12 touchdowns. So talk about a complete shift in play. I mean, he was one of the best running backs in college football this year and was one of the best running backs at the Senior Bowl this week as well. Won the Best Running Back Award for the national team. And Abraham is a really strong runner, obviously, since he was a former linebacker, and he is really quick, has a lot of good field vision, isn't exactly the speediest type of player, and doesn't really make a lot of impact in the receiving game. But like the rest of the players on this list who had some concerns heading in this game, he proved them wrong, because the touchdown he scored was through the receiving game. Then we have Zion Johnson, guard from Boston College. Johnson is one of the best guards in this year's class. He is really strong, and he is really good in the run game, and he is also really versatile. He took a lot of snaps at the center position as well as the guard position this week, and he also won the Best Player at the Senior Bowl award. So congrats to Zion Johnson, and he definitely deserved it. He was one of the last players on the field every single week of practice. So Zion Johnson, he's a hard worker and is also very versatile. You know, Joe Douglas likes his versatile offensive lineman. Then we have Jalen Petrie, a safety from Baylor, who won the Best Safety Award for the national team. Petrie is a box safety. He racked up 8.5 sacks and 36 tackle for losses in his career, was very active during the game. He needs some improvement in his coverage game, but he is a box safety, so that's really not his main priority. But he was just really good at rushing the quarterback and was just all over the field this week at the Senior Bowl. Then we have Logan Hall, who's a defensive line / edge hybrid from Houston. He reminds me a lot of John Franklin Myers in the sense that he can play both the edge position and the interior defensive line pretty solid. Was also really athletic, but this was really the only season where he put up major stats. He had 6 sacks and 13 tackles for loss this season for the Cougars. He's a little inconsistent in the run game, but he just balled out in the Senior Bowl. Like Travis Jones, he was just constantly winning his one-on-ones, and he is also just super athletic. I already said it before, but I had to say it again because it is true. Then we have Trey McBroom, tight end from Colorado State, who is the best tight end in this year's draft class, was the best tight end in college football last season, and was the best tight end for the national team this week. And one of the main things Trey McBride showed off this week was his blocking skills, which we already knew were fantastic, but he just proved him again because he is just so good at blocking, and he also caught a touchdown. Then we have Chad Mumma, linebacker from Wyoming. Now, Mumma is actually a former defensive back. He played defensive back in high school, so obviously he has some pretty good coverage skills, and he also almost had an interception in today's game. But he is just an all-over-the-field type of linebacker, and he definitely showed that this week in the Senior Bowl. In the game, he had a touchdown-saving tackle. Malik Willis was running all over the field. Chad Mumma came from across the field and tackled him and saved the touchdown. And he also had the most tackles this season in college football with 142. And the last player we're going to be talking about is Perion Winfrey. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, Mr. Winfrey. But he was arguably one of the best players at the Senior Bowl this week. I mean, all 3 of the defensive linemen I listed, Logan Hall, Winfrey, and Travis Jones, all balled out and had exceptional performances at the Senior Bowl this week. And I know he really didn't do too much during the game, but if you paid attention closely, he was just constantly shedding those blocks, beating the offensive guards, and finding his way in the backfield. I mean, I'm pretty sure he won every single one of his one-on-ones this week. I mean, Perrion is a beast, and he's also a really good run stopper. And that is all I got for you guys today. If you enjoyed, let me know by hitting the subscribe and like button. Check me out on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at June_Jets for more content. And you can also comment down below who your favorite prospect was at the Senior Bowl this week. And I'm your host, Jets, signing off for now. See you guys later. Peace!